Germany is often thought of as a country where you can rely on public transportation and your own 2 feet to get you from point A to point B, no matter where you are in the Republic. While Germany does have a lot more options in raw terms than the United States, as an example, with Deutsche Bahn being a national passenger rail carrier, it's not necessarily the case that German cities of themselves are pedestrian-oriented, accessible, or bike-friendly places to live and work. Indeed, many cities in Germany took a car-centric approach in the 50s and 60s when they had to rebuild after World War II. To my surprise, the university town of Marburg in Hesse seems to have taken a much different track of development, focusing on accessible design for the blind and visually impaired. Marburg prides itself on being a place where the blind can live as easy of a life as possible, and that to me is fascinating. What led this town to take the steps that it did to create a more accessible environment for the blind and visually impaired? What steps can be taken in other towns and cities to emulate the successes that Marburg has achieved? The roots of Marburg's accessible design go back to World War I, where a blind institute was set up to aid young men who were blinded by the Great War to gain confidence and life skills they needed that would allow them to re-enter life with ease. Exactly why Marburg, I'm not so sure. I wasn't able to find a definitive reason. But what I can suggest is that because of its age, the city was founded in the 9th century, it retained a medieval character and small footprint such that the blind residents of this institution wouldn't need to really do a lot to orient themselves and get around. This is, of course, in an age before we had audible tools like a beeping crosswalk or tactile paving to alert people of curbs and such. So what better place than a small medieval town in the middle of Hesse? Over the preceding century, Marburg has grown into one of the most accommodating cities in Germany for the blind and visually impaired. Starting from that initial crop of 3,000 soldiers, today Blista, the Blind Institute, and Philipps University hosts one of the highest proportion of blind students in all of Germany. Owing to this large proportion of blind students and blind residents overall, the town cannot simply think of a pedestrian crosswalk and public infrastructure the same way. In simple terms, a pedestrian crossing is not just painting some lines on the ground, it also means you install audible crosswalks that help orient a blind or visually impaired person where they need to go in a wider urban environment, like this one. It's one thing to have an audible crosswalk here and there. It's another to ensure that audible crosswalks are at a majority of pedestrian crossings, that they are loud enough, that they are giving comprehensive directions to the blind and visually impaired so that they can navigate safely within the urban environment. Like most university towns in North America and Europe, Marburg features a bus rapid transit system to get people where they need to go within the city. As you would expect with bus systems of all stripes, there is a signboard with all the information you might need, but what of the 150 or so blind people that call the university home? In addition to providing the braille on a signboard that everyone is so familiar with, there also have been investments made in audio technology. Such technology, in this case, takes the form of a button. When pressed, this button will provide information to the individual who uses it, such as the number of the bus, where it is going, and when it will be arriving. When compared to the traditional or more typical sight of a bus stop sign that lists the number of the bus and the time it's supposed to arrive in Braille, the audio-oriented system is a lot more fluid and dynamic. Any resident of the city, be they sighted or blind, can utilize the audio-oriented system with ease, and I would imagine it provides much more up-to-date information than a typical sign, as it's a digital-first system. A sign might have information that's accurate from a week ago or a month ago, but routes change, routes get closed. timings differ. So it's a lot clearer to have a system that can be updated at a moment's notice on a social level and a more practical level. The auditory technology that Marburg has employed really aids in the inclusion of blind people into the town at large. As one BBC article discussing the town notes, shop assistants are used to dealing with blind customers at their storefronts. Many restaurants have Braille menus, and I imagine many today also have online screen reader friendly menus. So, to summarize, Marburg is a city that has a 100-year history of accessible design and a 1,000-year history of being a medieval town. But it does not take being a medieval town to be an accessible city. Marburg simply has done the legwork and done the steps necessary to make what would otherwise be disparate ways of accommodating and including the blind in society, things like tactile paving, audible crosswalks, and audio cues at bus stops, into a more cohesive whole that can get somebody from point A to point B in as seamless of a way as possible. With the help of their cane or dog, they can do whatever it is they set their mind to. The town features a number of blind sporting clubs, like a skiing club and a horse racing club, which may not be as successful as they are if the blind and visually impaired residents did not feel confident and comfortable in navigating the city on their own in a safe way. I would like to end with a quote today from a student at Phillips University who said the following about his time in Marburg. Linking together the technological innovations as well as the social and human factor is hugely beneficial. If you're not constantly wondering how to cross the road, you're less stressed.